end religiously motivated violence, and create cultures of peace, justice, and healing for the earth and all living beings. And if their particular purpose is in accord with that big shared purpose, then they apply to become a circle, and they're part of the membership. So now we have over 400 of these circles in 70 countries, powerful grassroots groups from 45 to 50 in the United States, 35 to 40 in Pakistan itself, over 80 or 90 in India, 13 to 20 in Korea, several in the Philippines, Middle East, there's at least 50. And again, some are well-known organizations that have been doing this kind of work that see benefit from belonging to an international collective. And some are small groups who just meet once a month for potluck conversation and to organize in small ways. But we're excited about this new dynamic design, and we feel it really allows unlimited numbers of people to get in on the action.
I share your enthusiasm about the dynamic design.
Good.
But I do want to ask you, when we come back from break, what's the benefit, what's the final outcome of this thing? And then I'll go to our colleague and ask him about Dalai Lama's model. But we'll be back after a short break. Stay with us. Thank you. Welcome back. We are talking to our colleagues, Reverend Bridges and Reverend Maye, about interfaith dialogue and what are the benefits that the communities can draw other than people who are participating in them. I'm sure it is spiritually uplifting, it is morally satisfying, it is aesthetically gratifying, all of those things are there. But what is the benefit for communities at large? Can you please enlighten us on that?
I would love to, because we've seen that the benefits are powerful and clear and very practical, and sometimes unexpected. For instance, in Metro Manila in the Philippines, there was a group that began as a meditation group, people from different backgrounds. Their circle was called the Peacemakers Cooperation Circle. They were Muslims, they were Hindus, they were Christians, very indigenous, various kinds of people. They spent a couple years getting to know each other. But soon there was outbreak of violence and disruption in Manila as people from the South Philippines, the Muslim communities, moved in. And there was disruption in shopping malls, and who knew what to do? And they called on this group, the Peacemaker Circle, and they were able to intervene in a very sort of normal way, which is just people who weren't afraid to get into conversation and be, you might say, the intermediaries between what the Muslim needs and issues were and the Christians in the communities. That's just one example. In Brazil, circles had been going for a few years, working with other nonprofits to change the law about the sale of guns. You know, Rio de Janeiro is one of the highest murder capital of the world, and there's a tremendous amount of handguns that are sold. And through cooperation, these various communities, working through circles as well as with other organizations, were able to do a huge democratic event, which was to really be successful in changing that legislation so that the number of handguns were reduced. They also asked mothers and wives and people, bring in your guns. Bring your guns to the synagogues, bring your guns to the church, and we will smash them. And they had a big bulldozer smashing the guns. very practical. Just in Orange County, California, there's a consortium of different faith communities just this last spring, and they made a commitment that nowhere within 10 miles of any of these faith communities, synagogues, mosques, churches of different kinds, would anyone be hungry. And so they mobilized together a giant, working together with the different kitchens and services, a commitment to reduce the level of hunger of the poor people who lived in that area.
Excellent, excellent.
A few examples.
And they're very good examples. Reverend, right now, Bridges, right now I come to you. Please tell me, what do you think is the outline of our good friend Dalai Lama's conception of a similar thing? They have the United Religious Initiative, which was given to us in great detail, with great clarity. Can you talk a little bit about the Buddhist approach to world problems and how global ethics, from Buddhist point of view, can help us address the same issues?
Right. The Dalai Lama is just really amazing, amazing person. I think he's an excellent example of someone who is involved in conflict, right, in the conflict between the Chinese government and the Tibetan Buddhism and, the Tibet as a nation, and in the face of violence, absolutely refusing to engage in violence, right? And that nonviolence is his, I think, one of the hallmarks of his approach, which of course is influenced by Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. So just his approach is really interesting, that he doesn't necessarily take a purely Buddhist approach, but looking to these towering figures of nonviolence in human history, recent human history. I think that there's two sides to his approach to Buddhism that allows it to kind of extend beyond Buddhism, and one is compassion, and boiling down the message of Buddhism to its absolute essential. One of the main things is this compassion, and not being so concerned about your own advancement, your own betterment, but feeling this compassion for other beings, right? And that Buddhism is about compassion for not only a certain group of people or your own family, but compassion towards all beings, all living beings. So that's one really important part. And then the other part that we were looking at in that book is the idea of reducing suffering of people. And that, that's one of the basic teachings of Buddhism, is that life when lived in ignorance is suffering, is fundamentally dissatisfactory, that we're constantly wanting something else than what we have. We're not, that we're not satisfied with what we have. Also, the physical and psychological suffering that people, just human beings, have. But Buddhism is actively about reducing that suffering, not only for myself, but for others. And so I think that that would be a kind of a two-pronged approach for Buddhist ethics in the world, and that I think that that could be applied not only within Buddhism, but maybe as a kind of a global ethical ideal. Yeah.
Now, when you say, if I remember correctly from my early readings of Buddhism, the two keywords were dukkha and sukha. Dukkha meaning suffering and sukha meaning comfort. And then it seemed like the purpose was to eliminate dukkha, which is suffering, and enhance sukha, which is comfort, and have compassion for people who are suffering, and have humility when you are having fun and having good times. Given all of that, is there a more structured format? Are there steps 1, 2, 3, like we have steps 1 through 3? You go into communities, you engage them in dialogue, you build these cooperative circles, you start working for local mediation, and from local mediation you hope to build some kind of a global structure. Is there some similar structured activity aiming at interfaith dialogue resulting in universal benefit?
I have to say personally that I'm not aware of something really that structured. I actually think that what's interesting about Buddhism is its flexibility, and that Buddhism really allows, speaking more as an individual, allows you to enter any situation and interaction, and that, with those principles of not only compassion and, caring for others and wanting to reduce other suffering, but also, I think, self-reflection